Business news now then on the programme. A late dip, in fact, on Wall Street last night. Now, US stocks, they spent most of the trading session in positive territory, helped by the stimulus hopes, but concerns over the cost of the package led to a modest decline towards the end of Wall Street trade, though. As you can see, the biggest drop of nearly 0.4% on the S&P 500. Asian shares, they've been edging up near record highs after Joe Biden's stimulus plan announcement to try to restart the world's largest economy. As you can see, some of them, though, have since dropped back, so a pretty mixed picture across the board. Well, let's cross then to London, speak to Director of Investment Strategy at NAGA, Jameel Ahmed, who joins us from there. Jameel, the market reacting pretty well to Biden's plan, but then dropping back a little bit more recently.
So it's that delayed Christmas present that the market's been waiting for a long time, and that comes from the economic stimulus package. Now, $1.9 trillion, should that be passed through Congress, means that the cost to the US economy through the pandemic has been close to $4 million, because there was 1.9 back in March, there was an extra couple of $100 million before Christmas, and now we've got the 1.9 should this be agreed once Biden is inaugurated this week. But there are concerns over the cost of the pandemic, how the US economy is going to be able to repay this money. But it also comes at a time where it's clear that the US economy, the United States, along with the global world as it is, remains thick in the battle and in the trenches against this coronavirus pandemic, with infections breaking out. And that's likely why there is a little bit of profit taken on the news. Nonetheless, the attention now turns towards Joe Biden when he's inaugurated in just a couple of days' time. And as long as we have that message of unity, consistent narrative around collaboration, the global unity coming back together, then we should still see global markets remaining close to record highs near enough over the coming trading sessions.
Comes as real fears, though, about job losses as well in the US, doesn't it, Jameel?
It does indeed, and the US economy needs every single bit of help that it can get right now. Generally speaking, what we saw yesterday was close to 1 million initial jobless claims, and this means there was 1 million unemployment benefits filed over the past week. Now, that was his highest number since March and April 2020. It comes hot on the heels of last month, where the United States economy didn't create any jobs and actually lost jobs for the first time in many months. And this is a real critical indicator that the United States, it really does remain thick in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic, and there isn't really light at the end of the tunnel, so to say. And that's why it was absolutely essential that before Biden gets inaugurated next week, that the investors had some sort of perspective on what help he could provide to the US economy, because again, the US economy needs every little push in the right direction that it can get.
So where do we go from here now then, do you think, Jameel?
So where we go, we're still going to have all eyes on the United States economy this week, because we've got a number of key economic data releases coming out just this afternoon, actually. And the main event will be the retail sales data, because retail sales is a critical indicator of how the consumer is performing in the US economy, coming on the back of those disappointed job numbers. And more importantly than that, consumer spending equates to close to 70% of US GDP. And it will provide some indication on how the US economy was performing concluding Q4 of 2020 and how the US economy might perform over 2021. But the outlook is not looking great because of all the disappointing job releases that we have seen.
Jameel, good to talk to you as ever. Director of Investment Strategy at NAGA, joining us there from London. Thanks very much. Now, the new national curfew here in France of 6 p.m, we told you about it a little earlier on in the programme, set to really, of course, hit businesses which have already been struggling. Camille Nedelec has this report.
With ever-changing restrictions, businesses in France have had to adapt, like this bar manager who has been selling mulled wine and oysters on the streets for the evening crowd. But the nationwide 6 p.m. curfew will put paid to that.
Couvre-feu à 18h, écoutez, notre mort, j'ai envie de vous dire. Déjà que le 18-20h, c'était un créneau qui nous permettait d'un petit peu survivre, mais là, 18h, ça va être compliqué.
The fashion industry estimates that sales could drop as much as 30% because of the earlier curfew. It's also difficult for bakeries, who rely on an influx of clients buying their evening baguette.
Ça va être très compliqué. Il y a un gros manque à gagner. C'est un très gros créneau horaire pour nous.
As it tightened restrictions, the government increased financial support for struggling businesses, up to €200,000 per month. Help which will be made available for as long as needed, although only firms that lose 70% of their business qualify. The government will also pay the rent of companies with revenues of at least €1 million per month.
Nous allons travailler avec les parlementaires aux meilleures façons de baisser ce seuil de 1 million d'euros qui, je sais, peut être pénalisant pour un certain nombre de petites structures.
The state-sponsored furlough programme has been extended for the worst affected sectors. Businesses who took out state-backed loans won't have to start paying them off until March 2022. The original payback date was this March.
Ned Lake reporting there. Now let's have a look at today's news.